I gave you 50 cents. You call those people.
We're lying.
It's not in your job.
Can't we do something about this?
I'd have to double it.
Make sure you do it. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's on
Thank
top
you.
of it.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
She's good, yeah.
She's just doubled your offer.
That girl's gonna make some money.
That's
somewhere.
right.
No, Charlie, that's her. Well, good morning, everyone. It's Friday, February 17th, and we have the Vermont Housing Conservation Coalition this morning. I know some of you must have taken their coffee and goodies upstairs, and so we'll get started and hear from. Now, Abby, quite well, and so are you gonna lead off, Abby?
Yes.
Yeah, and you introduce your guests, we'll introduce ourselves. We got 3 new members from the Ag Committee, so.
Hi, Brian Collmore, representing the Rutland District.
Irene Runner, Chittenden North with Fairfax.
Thank you.
This is Brian
Oh, I'm sorry.
Campion, the senator from Bennington. I'm Rich Westman, the senator from Lamoille.
Right, I apologize,
And
Mr. Chair.
I'm Bob Sheriff of New Orleans County, and I also represent 4 communities in California. And don't get offended by, he was slow. So welcome, and it's nice to have you folks with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's good to be with you. Abby White, I'm with the Vermont Land Trust, and I'm also one of the co-chairs of the Vermont Housing Conservation Coalition. And we are here in the State House today with many housing and conservation leaders from around the state who deploy the resources of VHCB in communities. And so we're here to talk to you about our work and the impact of those investments. So just a little bit of background, as I said, VHCC, we're comprised of about 50 organizations. And our goals are to create affordable housing, conserve land, and really strengthen the vitality of communities. One of the things that's most unique about VHCC, the coalition, and VHCB, the board, is that it's always had a mission of uniting housing and conservation, recognizing that when you invest in both, communities thrive. They're not one or the other, it's both together. And especially in this moment where we're experiencing growth, we have some challenges in the state in attracting people to come and live here. We have a housing crisis. It's always just important to keep in mind that housing and conservation really go together. And so, of course, because this is the Agriculture Committee, Agriculture and Forestry, we're here to talk to you about the work that has been happening in agriculture. So the coalition is asking the General Assembly to this session to fully support funding for VHCB. That would equate to $27.8 million for fiscal year 24. Last year, we got close. You all increased the base budget by $10 million. And so that got us closer to full statutory share. But again, it's less than what's needed to meet needs of communities. So I'm going to step away. I'm going to step out of the chair here and let the real heroes talk to you about their work. So I'm joined today by, I don't see Mark yet on the call, Linda. Is he here? No. Okay. Well, we'll kind of switch the order, but we'll start with Gabby Tuitt, who is here from Old Road Farm. So Gabby, and then Julie Curtin from Champlain Housing Trust, and then Mark Laurie from Rupert Valley Holsteins. So that's the crew that we've got for today, and thank you for having us in.
Yeah, well, glad you could make it. So Gabby, you want to sit right at the table? And tell us a little bit about where you're from yourself.
Yep. My name's Gabby. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my story today. My husband and I run Old Road Farm in Granville, Vermont. We grow on about 3 acres, diversified organic vegetables. We have 6 greenhouses for season extension and winter growing. We employ about 3 to 4 people during the growing season, and our markets include local grocery stores and co-ops, farmers market, our farm stand, and some restaurants and catering businesses.
Do you, I don't want to change your train of thought. But,
No, it's okay.
do you sell any to your local schools?
No, we haven't done schools. We are working with Acorn, which is like the Addison County relocalization project, and they're helping us to get into more institutions such as hospitals and schools. It would just be a bigger jump in scale, which we're just going into our 4th season on this property. So
Still,
slow, yeah, still growing,
yeah.
but would like to be able to grow for larger institutions. But my husband and I started farming in college. We had a lot of great role models, and we knew that this was something that we wanted to do for ourselves and our community. We felt that farming and growing healthy and sustainable food was a great way to be able to contribute to our community. So in 2016, we leased some land, and the land that we leased was super hilly and rocky, probably only an acre to grow on. So we knew that if we wanted to be able to do this, for the long haul, we needed more farmable land. So we worked on our business plan. We had a lot of help from a lot of great organizations like NOFA and Intervale, and then brought our business plan to Vermont Land Trust, and they helped us to find our forever farm in Granville. We have about 24 acres, so a lot of room to grow. In 2019, we purchased our land, so going into our 4th growing season.
Kind of narrow down through Greenville.
Yep.
Right? So you have to be along the river there.
Yep,
somewhere.
we're right along the river. Yep, right on Route 100. So prime agricultural soil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brian?
Thanks for sharing. So did you go to school for agriculture, or did you just sort of start volunteering and working on a farm wherever you were in school?
So I studied community development and with a minor in food systems. So more of like the social side of farming,
Yeah.
and not so much like the technical side of farming. But like I said, we had like a lot of great role models, a lot of great teachers along the way. And, we're still getting a lot of help from like UVM Extension for all our technical
Great.
help. So it's great to be in such an ag state that supports a lot of farmers.
Were you at UVM?
Yeah, I was at UVM.
That's
Yep.
great.
Mhm.
Thank you.
And my husband and I were 1st generation farmers. We have little access to land and capital. So being able to have affordable farmland was crucial in our business growth. We wouldn't be able.
So you own the land that you're actually farming then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like one of the biggest obstacles for young farmers is access to land and capital. And Vermont has such a rich agricultural history and landscape, and we want to keep supporting that. And, we want to keep seeing that in our state. I think it's really important to be able to support young farmers and keep funding these programs like VHCV and VLT that helps young farmers get on the land.
No, that's been a great program, VHCV, and I used to be in the house, and Rich used to be in the house, and I think you were there when we set that up, I think.
I was one of the sponsors of the
Yeah.
original.
And,
And I helped organize the trip.
Yeah, did you get in on that?
It was American Farmland Trust owned the farm next door to mine. And American Farmland Trust paid for that trip for us to go down.
I knew that was 25 years ago.
And Jean Ann Duffy.
I knew I made a mistake by not going on the trip.
Jean Ann Duffy helped organize the trip.
Yeah, I sent the vice chair of the committee I mean, I had 50 balls in the air back then. So I sent the vice chair and the reports that we got back to the committee were, you know,
That was
We
Jean Ann,
better-
right?
or,
That was Jean Ann.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We gotta work on this, and we worked with others, of course. It was been a good thing that we did. That's helped a lot of young people get started, and it helped in transitioning from one family, you know, to a younger generation. No, it's been a good run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd just say, in Connecticut, when they started the program, the land and the housing are separate. And they had an implosion of the whole program. And they reorganized the program in Connecticut to include housing and land. And we came just about the time they were reorganizing the whole program and then followed that.
It makes a very strong group if you put housing and land conservation together.
Yeah.
You know, and we can all count to something. And here in the legislature, you gotta be able to count in the House 6 and 76. If you can't get there, may as well fold your tent up and go home because you're losing. But no, it's been great. And I don't know if we ever have done an inventory of numbers of how many young families have gotten started through this and bought homes through the HCB and the land trust. But those numbers would be high.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other good news?
No.
Any bad news?
Yeah.
Well, you know, you gotta take the bad with the good.
Yeah.
And, well, thank you for
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah. of course.
taking your
Good luck.
time.
Thank you.
Good luck to you.
Thanks.
So, Julie?
Well, we have Mark Lori,
Oh,
who
Mark.
is here, so we'll go to Mark first, if that's okay.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Morning, Mark.
Morning. Glad to be here. Can you hear me okay?
We're glad to have you.
Okay. We're getting a thunderstorm down here in Bennington County, so if you lose me, it's probably because we lost power. But anyway, I'm Mark Lori, from Rupert, down in Rupert, over on the west side of Bennington County, near the New York border. I farm with my brother, twin brother Mike. We milk 400 cows and crop approximately 900 acres. My brother also has a 10,000 tap sugar bush. We made a sizable investment in a new parlor 5 years ago to bring our farm up to speed and stay in it for the long haul. And the next generation would be the fourth generation is already on board. So Rupert's always been a farming community. We've got a nice working landscape with two small villages, and there's been a fair amount of conservation projects that have gone through the town, and I think helping preserve its character and its working landscape. We were able to conserve 177 acres of the home farm last year with help from some of the funds from VHCB. And that's up along the White Creek. And there's a 236 acre woodlot that's adjacent, that's part of that parcel that we hope to continue the conservation easement on that in the future. It's also part of a block here in Rupert that extends over Rupert Mountain into the Meadowy Valley and up through Pollitt. There's quite a sizable block of conserved properties that I think, again, are keeping the working landscape and nice blocks of forested land and woodlot for wildlife habitat and water and air quality control, especially with the climate change that we all know is going on. We were also able to purchase a conserved farm next door right on the New York border in 1998. It's part of our crop base and it was an important purchase and has helped us remain viable. I think to the best of my knowledge, there's only 4 farms in Bennington County now shipping milk. But there are other farms doing some other things, vegetables and stuff. But dairy has always been the core farming activity. I think land conservation goes hand in hand with keeping prime ag land in farming. We have to preserve farm ag land. It is what feeds our people and the world, and that's critically important to any farm that has prime ag land. And even though we need housing, let's try to find someplace else for that. The dairy business always kind of been a tough business. I've been in it for 36 years, and my father and grandfather before that. You somehow find a way to keep going, but I think the programs that we've had come along are critically important to dairy farms. I think the investments that are made with these tax dollars, they're gonna benefit future generations, and it does make a difference. In conclusion, I've seen, like I said, a fair amount of conservation projects come through our town. I was able to serve on our town select board for 26 years, and the select board has always supported these projects, and they've been supported throughout the community. I think I'll just reiterate the character and the charm of our villages mixed in with the farmland sets our town apart, and also other towns, I'm sure, that are extremely similar. With that, I'd like to thank you for listening to my story, and if you have any questions, let me know. And thank you for supporting the VHCB funding.
Well, thank you very much. Before we ask any questions, I want to tell you that if your lights go out from the thunderstorm, Brian Campion is the guy that caused that rain.
You can go over to his side.
Okay.
So do you farm, is your farm anywhere near where Bob Grass farm, near his farm, or was his farm? the Graff Farm in Rupert?
The Graff Farm is partially in Rupert and Paulet. It was then down to the next generation, the Russo Farm. And they're over in the Meadowee Valley, which is up over the hill from us. We're over on the New York border, so we're not far apart.
But you got a little hill to go over there.
Yeah, there's a small hill there that well, the milk trucks tend to go around it, and some of the other heavy trucks. But it runs right through the middle of town. But we can't change our geography.
No. So who do you sell your milk to, Mark?
We're a member of Agrimark Co-op, proud members. We've hosted Open Farm Sunday several times and get great turnouts for people that want to see what's going on a farm, and we've hosted this. We milk 3 times a day, so they're able to watch milking. And it's amazing how many people, they want to learn where their food comes from, and they want to know who produces it. And they're always very intrigued with all the aspects that go into dairy farming. And we've had the privilege of helping to educate some of those folks. And I think that makes a big difference as well.
Yeah. No, those events are great. I attended some when they've had them up north, and it's amazing the crowds that people that turn out for those. Great. So you do
absolutely
dairy,
yep.
You do dairy and maple and some wood. Do you do some wood as well?
Of course, my wood lots are all under forest management. We don't have any cuts in the next 10 years. So I'm not like in the firewood business or anything like that. So we're not really in the wood business right at the moment, but we hopefully, as timber grows, we might have something to sell.
Yeah, good. Questions from the committee?
No, very good. Thanks, Mark.
Well, thanks very much for your time this morning. I know you must be busy, and we appreciate you giving us that time.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So
We can go to Julie.
okay, Julie.
Morning.
Julie.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. So sorry I can't be there in person today. And I appreciate that this option's available to us so I can join you this morning. I'm Julie Curtin. I'm the Director of Home Ownership at Champlain Housing Trust. I'm here today to talk about the Farm Worker Housing Program that's funded by VHCB. VHCB asked CHT to administer this program a little over a year ago. So I want to report on what we've done so far and talk about where we're going. I know you've heard about this program already this year and last year, so I'll try to hit the highlights, but just we felt it would be important and helpful for you to hear from those of us who are implementing the program and doing the work. Before I talk about that, I just need to say I did work for Vermont Land Trust from 2011 to 2019. And one of the last, I was a in-house counsel for VLT. So I did a lot of the farm transactions, including Gabby's farm. So it's pretty cool to hear how that farm's being used now. And I remember when VLT purchased the property and held it for quite some time before finding a person who was a good fit for that to be their forever farm. And one of the things that took a little while to make that transition was the farmhouse. It's a lovely old farmhouse, but it needed a little TLC. So farm housing was something that was very much part of my experience at Vermont Land Trust on the conservation side, and clearly now it's a big part of the work that I'm doing at CHT. Also thrilled to have Mark here because Mark, we don't have any farms in our farm worker housing program in Bennington County yet, and we would really love to see that in round 2. So hopefully he can spread the good word about the resources we have. I also wanted to note that one of our program participants, Bill Soar, who is the founder and owner of Champlain Orchards in Shoreham, had wanted to join us today, but had a conflict, and so has submitted written testimony that the committee, we submitted that on Wednesday. So he has provided some written testimony just to give you a sense of his experience as a farmer who's participated in the program and what an important impact having these dollars has been for him to improve his farm labor housing. VHCB over the course of the last 2 years has provided Champlain Housing Trust with $2.2 million for farm worker housing. And we have 2 programs to implement those funds and improve housing for farm workers. This followed a needs assessment that VHCB commissioned in 2021 that identified the sort of scope of the need for farm labor housing in Vermont, and has been, we feel has been successful so far. Last year, we received $500,000 in loan capital to make repair loans to existing farm labor housing. Our loans go up to $30,000 per loan and are forgiven over the course of 10 years. So every year that the housing, once the project's complete, every year the housing is used for farm labor housing, 10% of the loan principal is written down so that at the end of 10 years, there's a zero balance. There's no interest and no payments due. So, so it's a great program in that way. The focus of the funds is to make health and safety repairs to existing housing. And when you all had Dan Baker in maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, great. So Dan gave you a lot of detail, and I won't go into that today because he's been a wonderful partner for this project, and he's great at crunching the numbers and able to look at, well, what types of projects are people in need of. And I will say we certainly saw the full range of plumbing, electrical, weatherization, septic replacements, new wells and water lines, all the things that you can imagine, old housing in Vermont needs. And as you can imagine, it's old housing, and it's also housing that's in pretty heavy use with people who are working on the farm, night shift, day shifts, and new workers coming and going. So we had 45 requests for that $500,000, and we're able to fund 15 farms. Those 45 requests amounted to $1.8 million in estimated project costs. I would venture to guess that the actual costs were quite a bit higher. As we've found, as we go on the farm as part of our process, we make a site visit and use a checklist to inventory all health and safety improvements that need to be made with our funds. We often are finding initial project scopes expand after that site visit, and farms are needing the full $30,000 in order to complete all of the work. As I mentioned earlier, we did receive applications from almost everywhere in the state, except for Bennington, Essex, and Grand Isle counties. So for round 2, we're really hoping to see some farms come in from those parts of the state. Good news is eight projects are underway and 4 are almost done, and we're getting ready to close on additional projects very soon. Also great news is that VHCB provided us with a second round of capital for repairs. So we have another $774,000 to make repair loans on farms, and we've just opened applications for those funds. That application window will be open for another couple of months, and we then will essentially assess the applications that we receive to award what we think will be about another 25 repair loan projects with this second round of funding. So we're really grateful to have some additional funds. But if you add up the 500 and the 774, it still isn't even the 1.8 million that we received in the first round. And we do know that there are farms that weren't able to apply last year that are expecting to apply this year. So we think that essentially the program's oversubscribed, and there is a great need. I also wanted to touch on, I said there are two programs we're doing. We are also doing a pilot replacement program. This is to where there are some farms that, for example, have had to make a makeshift apartment in the barn, or have a 1970 mobile home that's sinking into the ground and needs to be 100% replaced. These are much more expensive projects and much more complicated, but we do have $620,000 from VHCB to implement what looks to be 3 replacement projects to learn how could we have a program that meets the need on farms that that need to actually replace their housing. So once we learn more about that program, we'll be reporting back to VHCB. As you can tell, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Dan touched on that replacement program when he was in last week, I think it was. You know, it's just the present homes are so bad that it's just cheaper to replace them and replace them with very efficient, you know, energy efficiency and new watering and new water and electrical. It's just better than trying to replace what's there in some cases. So
Yes.
that's good. I think Brian had a question.
Yeah, thanks, Julie. So the counties that you haven't heard from, do you do much in the way of, tell us a little bit about the outreach to get people to apply? You mentioned, I think, Bennington, Essex, Franklin, possibly. Grand Isle.
Yeah, we partnered with other homeownership centers around the state, for example, Rural Edge based in St. Johnsbury, so that they're informed of the program, and as they're out in their communities doing home repair loans, they're also for the first round, we're able to post flyers about the program. Also, in our partnership with UVM Extension, Dan has organized, I believe, 5 stakeholder meetings, statewide stakeholder meetings over the last couple of years, where we've had attendance from folks from Farm Bureau, from Champlain, the Champlain Valley Dairy Association. So a variety of agricultural related groups have come to those stakeholder meetings. They're all on Zoom to learn about the program. The Agency of Ag has participated in those meetings. And then they've been able to disseminate information about the program through their listservs and other channels. And then thirdly, I'll add, UVM has regional coordinators. They have bilingual staff, UVM Extension, I should say, who spend a lot of time on farm. And so regional coordinators were on farms talking both with farmers and farm workers about, hey, there's this money for repairs. How's your housing? Is there a need? And either those farms reached out to us, or we also were able to identify some farms where farm workers said, we need some help with our housing. And we were able to reach out to those farms just to make sure they knew about the program and had the opportunity to apply.
The conservation districts might be able to help to get the word out. You know, we have those in every county, and you know, they're on all types of farms, so they might be able to help out on getting the word out. I'm wondering, did you folks work with the Paulstone Turkey Farm on replacing their farm labor housing house?
We did not.
No?
We
'Cause
did not. I
they
know
have,
Efficiency Vermont worked with them. Our program was not part of that project.
Irene, did you?
Yeah, my math skills are really rusty. Can you help me understand when you say you loan up to $30,000 that you're forgiving 10% of the principal per year? What is one of your clients paying? Are they paying just interest? Or are they paying interest plus principal until those 10 years elapse?
Yeah, actually, they have no payments. So there are no payments due. It's a zero, there's no interest.
Wow.
There would
Okay,
only
so
be
they
a
just stay
repayment.
protected.
It's essentially, yes, it works essentially like a grant, but it's secured because we want to ensure that the housing's being used for farm worker housing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you just want them to stay.
As long as
Great.
it's an active farm with farm labor
Okay.
using the housing. And we want to also make sure that the housing is maintained for the term of the loan. Yeah.
Super.
And Irene?
Yes.
We've been working, the Ag Committee worked on this for maybe the last 5 years. And then finally, between Dan Baker and Buster or somebody. you remember that?
Caswell.
Caswell.
Yeah, Buster, I mean, he used to be here every day.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
And,
Yeah, I believe it.
so,
Yeah.
when are you gonna start on farm labor housing? Well, next week. Well, we gotta get going on that. But he was a very strong supporter, and he kept us on our toes to get that done, and not that we just had too many balls in the air to get to that, but we finally got to it. And VHCB was, a great player, positive player and all that. And so I think it's worked very well from what I understand. And I think from your remarks, and it's worked well for you folks at Champlain Housing. So keep up the good work, and we're going to get our farm labor into some decent housing if we keep moving forward. So any other
Thank you.
questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Julie.
Thanks, Julie.
Thank you. Thank you for your support for farm labor housing and for VHCB. It's really the support for VHCB that's made it possible. So thank you for your continued support, and thanks for having us in today.
Well, yesterday, no, it wasn't yesterday we added that. It was earlier last week, but I think today we're going to vote on giving VHCB a couple of bucks for housing, an additional 27.5.
We voted it out of committee.
Yeah, it
It's on the
got
floor
voted
today.
out of committee, and it's on the floor in the Senate today. And two of us Aggies are on appropriations, so that kind of helps when those issues come along. So hopefully there'll be some adequate funding for into the future to help correct this issue. So thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Well, I think that's it for us. We had one more witness lined up who unfortunately had to cancel yesterday.
Yeah.
So I think this is us, unless you have additional questions.
That's great.
Yeah, you gotta go up to the house, or?
We're gonna go up to the house when they're off the floor, yes.
Yeah.
And thank you for the additional support. We didn't have a chance to talk about this today, but also I know you've been a support for the additional 10 million for organic dairy farmers, and that's something that certainly Vermont Land Trust has supported. So hope to see that go as well.
You must work with quite a few of those.
Yep.
Partners, and it's hard in the BA, you know, you don't fire up a new program. And we haven't set that up yet, but the chair of the PROPS has given us that, that request to figure that out and how to do it in an equitable and fair way. And but I think the you know, the support is there. We just gotta figure out how to do it and where it's gonna be managed and so I think next week we got quite a bit on that subject to start. And the old, you know, the old story, chase the money. What we need to figure out or for the future is we want to fix it so they don't have to come back next year and ask for more money.
Yep.
And I haven't had one negative senator speak up against helping. It's just trying to figure out who's getting what share of the money. And is somebody keeping more than they should? And, you know, do we figure out how to get some of that extra money, if there is any extra, back to the farmer? And it's always a difficult issue to figure out. I mean, we've done it before, so we ought to be able to, but it was 25 years ago. And you know, if you got 100 pounds of milk, you've got 10 gallons in a hundredweight. And, you know, if the farmer gets 32 of those dollars, if the average selling price, which we've got to figure out, is $10, you've got $100 in the pot to start with. And if the farmer's getting 32, where's the other 68 going? And you've got the processor and some trucking and then the retail sales. And when we did that study 25 years ago or so, what we found out was the retailers keeping way more money than they should have been. And so then you've got to fight with those folks. But it'll be interesting to see. I think the money will go to the farmer way before we get that part all figured out. But we need to report that back to our appropriations committee. And the chair has basically said that we would do a bill and have it take effect upon passage. So, you know, we haven't got to wait until June to stop the bleeding.
That's good.
Yeah, and so we're coming together on that, and it looks like it's going to work its way out. We've got a little lifting to do to get it done. And so we didn't talk about universal school meals except for asking if Abby asking Gabby whether or not they were selling into the schools, but it you know, it's a program that the Senate Ed Committee worked on, and we was kind of instrumental in making sure local foods were part of that process. And the reports that we've heard back from the school people is that local foods has really made a big difference for the farmer as well as the children eating wholesome, fresh food. And hope that you can get into that market eventually and help your sales this year. Yeah. Well, if there are no other
All set.
questions from the
Thank you.
committee.
Thank
Thank you. Good to see you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Nice to be with you, and
Thank
again,
you.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend. Drive safely.
Yes, you all drive safely as well. Guess there's thunderstorms down your way.
Yeah, I know, I might.
You gotta take the bad with the good. When they build that monument.
That's right.
Sears says that you've gotta be the guy that stood there strong and rugged. We got others. Renaming after you.
Yeah, right.
We got 10 minutes.
Okay, I'm going to the bathroom.
If you
Coffee.
wanna
Thank you.